Hi there, welcome to Blue Memoirs YouTube channel. This is episode 1. I'm Amandine, and today we're talking about self-care. What is it? What does it mean? Why is it so important? And does it look the same for everyone? But first, make sure to subscribe, join our free online community, get some self-care tips, exclusive VIP event, and offer access with product previews. Hi, welcome back. This is episode 1, and today we're talking about self-care. I'm Amandine, Tea Alchemist and self-care queen. So what is self-care? I took a look at the definition from Oxford Languages. We've got 2 here. The practice of taking actions to preserve or improve one's own health. And the second definition, which is my favorite, the practice of an active role in protecting one's own well-being and happiness, in particular during periods of stress. Now, I will share my personal definition with you in a moment, which kind of falls into that. But first, an example that they gave that I really, really, really like. Expressing oneself is an essential form of self-care. Yes. Yes. And this brings me to what is self-care. Now, to me, self-care is, first of all, listening to our needs. And second of all, providing that for ourselves, right? Now, that can be health, yes, but I think it's so much more. Indeed, it can be happiness, well-being. It's all of these things, right? It's literally looking after yourself. And how do you do that? You first listen. You listen to your body. What is it telling you? What do you need right now? And then you give that to yourself. And while it sounds really simple and straightforward, I know from experience that's far from the case sometimes. Now, something that I will rant a little bit about is seeing people out there telling you what self-care is and what self-care isn't. And to me, self-care is a deeply personal thing. I've experienced a lot of ups and downs in life, like everybody else. And I've noticed that my needs are very different times of my life, different seasons of the year, different time of day even. That's how personal it is. And therefore, when you see someone out there telling you, hey, self-care is that, or self-care isn't that, especially the self-care isn't part, how can you tell someone self-care isn't that? And especially when it comes to practices that may seem shallow, like a bubble bath or a mani-pedi or getting your head on. There's a lot of self-care is not all these things lately. Self-care is more, self-care is deeper, self-care is all these other things. And that is true. Self-care is also all these other things. But some days self-care is getting out of bed. I've been there. Getting off the couch, also been there. Feeding yourself, showering, brushing your teeth. That sometimes is self-care. And I'm not going to tell you whether what you need today is 20 minutes on your own in a hot bath in silence, because that very well might be self-care for you that day. I mean, that sounds pretty awesome right now, if you ask me. So self-care is so personal. And I can come here and I can give you ideas. I can inspire you. Sometimes there are things we don't realize are self-care. And I was in that position not that long ago before starting a business. I didn't realize how expressing oneself was an essential form of self-care, right? To go back to the Oxford Languages definition, I didn't know how important it was to speak my truth. I didn't realize how crucial creativity was in one's life, right? However you want that to look like. Creativity is essential. We are all creative beings. And one form of self-care is indeed expressing yourself and sharing your magic with the world. Again, whether it's through coaching or being a doctor, a lawyer, or you're creating writing, but it's not just being an artist. And I do recommend the book Big Magic by Liz Gilbert, which completely changed my view of creativity. I used to actually say I'm not a creative person, which is hilarious when I remember that today. Knowing me right now as a tea alchemist and literally a creator. And it's so funny, and I really believed it. But I'm digressing. Check the book out though. Self-care is what you need, right? So self-care is often as simple as a cup of tea, right? It can be. This is something we're going to talk about a lot on this channel. Tea, herbs, hemp, and cannabis is a form of self-care. For me, tea is such a brilliant self-care reminder, because this whole ritual around making yourself a cup of tea with the right intention, and with the right intention, I mean whatever it is, again, that you need today. Is it calm? Is it silence? Is it to breathe? Is it to pause? Whatever it is that you need. Creating intentionally a sacred pocket of time for yourself during which you can sit, enjoy your cup of tea, simply be, while paying attention to all your senses, because drinking a cup of tea is absolutely a multisensorial experience. That's self-care, right? And yes, you can grab a cup of tea and go straight back to your emails and your phone, but that's why I think this is brilliant. This is your self-care reminder, right? And it can be daily. It doesn't have to be tea if you're not into that. Any beverage will do. It's a beautiful way to signal your brain, it's self-care time. It's my time, right? You're showing yourself, you're showing the universe how important you are, how you deserve to put yourself first, how this is okay to just sit there and breathe. It may be that you want to do something else while having your cup of tea, right? That's okay. I'm going to take a sip now because it's been smelling delicious. It may be that you want to read a book. It may be that you want to do an oracle card spread. It may be that you want to watch your favorite TV show. That's okay. It may be that you want to work. That happens to me a lot. When the intention's there, that is totally fine, because actually you can use herbs, herbal tea, to help you, to support you physically, emotionally, spiritually into whatever activity you want to put your attention to next. So I will still use this as a ritual and ceremony, make my cup of tea, and whether I'm sitting there and breathing for 5 minutes on my own, or tuning into the energy I want to put into an email I want to write my community, right? I do that a lot, actually, especially when it's an email about that tea. It helps me connect back to the intention that I had when I created that blend, when it came to life, when I channeled it. And that's why it's so powerful, because of the smell, because of the taste, because of the feeling, the warmth. Tea is just, again, a beautiful self-care reminder. So I think you've guessed, I believe that tea is self-care. But again, self-care is anything and everything, as long as that's what you need. And what might be self-care one day may be procrastinating the next, right? One day you might need to sit there and read your book. You need to recharge, you need to rest. The next day you might be avoiding something, and you know that. And that's also okay, right? It's all about the intention, and it's all about what you need. And when you ask yourself, what is the most loving thing that I could do for myself today? What is it that I need? Usually answers will come. And then Do your best to provide that for yourself. That's self-care. Now, why is it so important? Now, I really believe that self-care leads to self-love. What does that mean? By listening in, I know what I need. That's great. That's the first thing, that's awareness. And then I'm taking action to provide myself, my body, my mind, what I need, right? So whether it's a cup of tea, a bath, whether it's to say no, set a boundary, stand up for myself, speak up, create, whatever it is, I will do it. I will provide it for myself. What does that tell me? What does that tell my whole body system universe? I've already mentioned that, right? It tells me I matter. I'm worth being listened to. And my needs matter. My needs are worthy to be met. I'm worthy to have my needs met. I'm worthy to put myself first. I'm important. And what does that lead to? Self-love. Self-care leads to self-love, because what other better demonstration of self-love than caring for ourselves in the way that we need? I mean, self-care arguably could be called self-love too, right? But with self-care, there's more self-love. And what does that mean in the world? I think a better world. More self-love in the world, in ourselves as business owners, especially, but for everyone, will ricochet, will have such a big impact on our circle, inner circle, but also wider. It's just this ripple effect. That was the word I was looking for. This ripple effect that will make a huge impact, right? Growing our businesses, helping more people, and putting that light and energy in the world. We're changing the world. We're making a bigger impact. We are building the world that we want to see. And this is why self-care is so important. And I will mention that super well-known kind of cliche saying about filling your own cup first, or even better, putting your own oxygen mask first, right on the plane before helping people out. This is essential. This is essential. You can't help people if you're running on an empty tank. That's another great expression used in the self-care space. You just can't. You just can't, yet we're doing it all the time, especially women. We're the caretakers, and we're putting everybody else and their needs before our own. And that needs to stop. You're important, and when you care for yourself and when you give yourself exactly what you need, you are better able to help others. You are more apt to grow your business, to help people do important work, just spread your brilliance, showcase your magic. You are changing the world. So tell me, when you look inward today, what is it that you need? What is one thing you can do just for yourself today? What is the most loving thing you could do for you today? I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to share in the comments if you feel called to. Thank you so much for watching. This was episode 1 of the Bloom in White YouTube channel. I'm Amandine, your favorite tea alchemist and self-care queen. Don't forget to subscribe. Okay, bye!